There is no choice now but to adapt and to innovate.
That means it's a really exciting time for our customer.
Technology is moving so quickly that every one of the 75 businesses I own, I have to recreate for the future.
I've owned more than 240 companies over the last 14 years, generating more than $100 billion of revenues and saving more than 700,000 jobs.
I've built my business around the mission of creating jobs in America, to give everybody the dignity of work.
Lynn Tilton brought a dream team of beauty professionals to give women the gift of feeling good about themselves.
Jane Cosmetics CEO Lynn Tilton is at the helm of this charitable movement, which she hopes will help redefine what the beauty industry is all about.
It is so much more than hair, makeup, and wardrobe. The women here see it as a pathway to their future.
Jane gives back.
My platform goes from aerospace to automotive to beauty, and the one thing that drives through the entire platform is the longing for design and disruption, to be enveloped in elegance and to be wowed by science and technology. It is no longer survival of the fittest, but rather survival of the adaptest, and my job is to innovate, innovate, innovate.
The journey's not over yet, and the storybook has not ended, and the game gets much more difficult every day.
Please welcome Lynn Tilton, Chief Executive Officer, Patriarch Partners, LLC.
Well, that's the end to my videos. I don't have all the great commercials, and I don't really seem to have many people left in the room. So for those of you who have remained, I appreciate it. I think the perspective that I bring is that I have owned so many companies, and I come from so many different industries. And it all begins with product. Product drives every one of my companies throughout my platform. And every business works from the customer backward. And there are only two things that the customer covets. That is design and disruption. Design being the desire to be enveloped in elegance and beauty, to make your smile in your heart. And disruption is the excitement that comes from innovation, science, and technology. And so whether I'm in the aviation, automotive, apparel, or beauty, my customers' desires are the same. They're looking for streamlined elegance and new and unique technologies. I have long been mission-driven, and 14 years ago, I started a business that was built upon the mission of ending joblessness and giving people the dignity of work in America. Losing a parent really young, I knew the disruption that came from losing a working parent and the fear that comes into a family's life. And so I knew that if I bought companies that others would toss away, those that would be liquidated, that I would save all those workers from the indignity of going home to their loved ones without work. And so it became my mission, my obsession, and my passion. And over the last 14 years, I've saved more than 240 companies from a death spiral, with more than $100 billion of revenues and 700,000 jobs. And yes, I am weary. But, you know, in that, you build and you learn and you become what you need to be. And in 2008, in the financial crisis, it really rocked my world. And I used to be much more of a financier, and I had to become an innovator and an operator. And in that change of roles, I found my calling in being a creator, an innovator, and a technologist. That was what really made my heart beat fast. And then came the clarion call to beauty. And in 2009, on a Friday night, I got a call in a car from a bank that said, I remember that you like brand names. You have till Monday to decide if you'd like to buy a company called Stila Cosmetics. And although I know less than all of you about beauty, at that point I really knew nothing. So I called my then, 27-year-old daughter and I said, Stila Cosmetics, didn't you use Stila? She said, yeah, the Twinkle lip gloss. And I said, okay, well, let's go to work. And by Monday, I told them that I would buy this company. And 10 days after that first call, on my 50th birthday, I gifted myself with this great brand. And it was through this brand that I learned what I could do for women, that I could enlighten, I could empower, and that I could basically give them the confidence and the courage to embrace their journeys. And that's what I love the most about beauty, because I came to realize that when we feel beautiful and we feel confident, our inner beauty shines. And we become the more compassionate self that bears the wings of our greater angels. And so for me, beauty has become a tool where I can touch women. And that's really, really important to me, because it's so important that we be kind to each other. And we really talk a good game, but we don't do it very well. So for me, Stila became that first horse that I could ride. And I will tell you that I have gifted Stila to the president of Costa Rica, to Barbara Walters, to Shakira, to the first female 4-star general in the Army, and to women at battered and homeless shelters. And they have all responded with the same awe and appreciation. Beauty humbles us, it excites us, and it binds us. I have found that in the beauty industry, like everything else, it's all about how you can create that white space and innovate and disrupt. And so at my beauty house, as well as across all my companies, design and disruption, design and disruption, design and disruption. It is our mantra and it is our morning prayer. One has to have the courage to out-innovate oneself. In this world of technology, startups and electric companies can easily displace long-embedded brands. That gives us opportunity, but it also keeps us on our toes. So at Stila, even though I'm up over 30% in the first quarter, I've decided to sweep my shelves and created all new packaging. And my desire was really to envelop my customer in elegance and to shower her in jewels. And so even my gondolas, completely recreated. And people say to me, you're going to take back all that inventory? Yeah, because if I don't out-innovate myself, someone will come and take my place. And so yeah, it takes great courage, but greatness always takes great courage. At Jane, I've created a new brand, one that's older to you and newer to me and even newer to the shelves, but from the launch, philanthropy was at its core. And it started out that I basically funded young girls' charities so they wouldn't give up that dream of giving back. But in December, I took a very emotional tour around the country to battered shelters for women. And I took my Jane Cosmetic field service teams and my Stila, and I took Ken Pavis and his hair care team, and I also took my Spiegel stylists. And we traveled the country from west to east to these shelters, and I saw firsthand how we transformed lives by transforming their looks, by giving them that dignity in the moment that they should never be treated less than they felt. And so we completely changed our everyday strategy to buy one, give one to a neighbor in need. And so every time you buy a Jane cosmetic, we give one to a shelter for battered women right in your community. And it's really my hope that I can teach young girls that compassion is contagious and that kindness is cool. Girls being kind to girls. What an incredible concept. But ladies, it's up to us to make it a reality. And so this year, I actually decided to put my money where my mouth was, and I funded a $5 million X Prize. And I spend a lot of time in the world of technology with some of the greatest technologists, but there are no women. And so I put up a prize for any winning X Prize team, $5 million, because I'm trying to really incent those, that would have a female CEO and at least half its leadership as women. Because as I look at these X Prize teams competing for SpaceX and Qualcomm, about 10% are women. So I realized that if I put up enough money that men had to choose at the beginning their female counterparts, that maybe this would change the journey. But in the end, ladies, it's up to us to truly be kind to each other. But last in my beauty house, I've had the honor and the pleasure to work with one of the kindest people I know, and really one of my favorite stars in the universe, Ken Pavis. And usually I'm rebuilding companies. This time I got to start something from scratch. And from the logo to the science and technology of the labs, to the closures, to the colors, to the shapes of packaging, we really built this together brick by brick. And the most important aspect of this brand, these 18 products that we'll launch at the end of the year, for both of us, was that it be inclusive, that it be affordable, and that it be available, so that every woman could understand the wonder and awe that comes from the better version of self. Well, I've been asked here to sort of tie together all these speeches and bring it all to a close. So it would be inappropriate if I didn't talk about metamorphosis, butterflies, change, the courage to disrupt. But frankly, that butterfly you see has always been my note card. And I have always thought of butterflies as I touch the world, because coming from a very strong spiritual background, I was taught to touch the world lightly, but be remembered for the beauty of my flight. I think the last few years I've probably touched it less lightly than I would like, but all of that comes along with the journey. But 14 years ago, I had the courage to disrupt a very old Wall Street model. And I tried to build a company on Wall Street that would prove that making money and making the world a better place weren't mutually exclusive options. And I started with a financial model that I patented, which is very rare in the financial industry, that allowed me to purchase and to lend to companies that would have otherwise been destroyed and liquidated and had absolutely no access to capital. And so at that point in time, people looked at me strange, but I've long been ahead of my time in look, in position, and in posture. But I left a life where I had a dream of being an island girl and was retiring, and came back with the hope that I would change the world. But it was not an easy choice, and it was also one that was fraught with fear, because being a disruptor always takes great courage. And so I will indulge you for a second, just so that we know that I was on point in terms of a butterfly and metamorphosis. As I wrote this poem back in 2000, as I launched this journey, in the midst of a cold, dark night, He paused in the beauty of his flight and fluttered gently on my heavy heart. Madam Butterfly, tonight your dream will start. Join us on this magical tour in appreciation of intent so pure. Worry not that others understand, born to us of foreign land. Dream the dream we wove for you. Find the ones who'll follow too. Trust in destiny and intent. With purpose to you, this mission sent. Madam Butterfly, spread your wings and fly, for in the darkness this dream will die. For now solo you must ride, in time others by your side, for you must dance your dance again. It's always frightening. It's always frightening to disrupt long embedded stronghold beliefs, industries. But we no longer live in a world of survival of the fittest. It's really survival of the adaptist. And if you hold on tight, you will die. And so we have no choice but to let go, to dream the dream, to close our eyes and build the vision that we see. And so I encourage you, let inspiration and courage be the wind beneath your wings, and let us all be butterflies and fly. Thank you. Now I can see people. Yes, Peter.
That was such an inspiring vision. The questions I have to prioritize. What do you think is, since you've been so active in saving companies, I think this is the first time we've ever had a speaker who talked about saving companies and saving jobs. What do you think is needed to create more industries in this country?
Well, I actually think that technology is our great gift. I mean, on one hand, as we move more and more towards artificial intelligence and robotics and three-dimensional printing and the Internet of Things and sensors and chips and LiDAR, all the things that are allowing us to dream and create, you'll lose some jobs, but it also allows you to build where you make it. And there's really no reason that we can't make things where we sell them. And I think it's an amazing time for people who are starting to make things at home. And so for me, I think this is the most frightening time because I own a lot of infrastructure, but it's also the most exciting time to be alive. And if I could spend all my time as an innovator and a creator and a technologist, I'd be a happy soul. Unfortunately, with 120,000 people I have to take care of, people are difficult. I think my love of humanity has sort of, strayed away from my sort of loving of people, because individuals are often hard to deal with, but nonetheless, they are mine.
Yeah, thank you for that speech, and very, very impressive achievements over 14 years, 250 companies. What's going through my head is like, how do you just manage your time and sort of the way you what you give to these companies in terms of guiding them on the right path, because it sounds like they were distressed in the wrong way, and given that there's that many companies, that many people, and it sounds like it's more than just finance.
It started out as really the art of restructure, which was, cutting expenses, different manufacturing, supply chain, bringing in talent, providing capital, and your reputation came back and your revenues went up and everything went in the right direction. And it didn't always work because, of course, I'm an imperfect being and this is not a science but an art. But it has really changed because companies die because of the lack of innovation, and the only way you can reignite is through innovation. And so it's changed so much. And the truth is that there are, for every minute I have, there are 20 people who want my time. And I don't have enough of me, and I have to learn to leverage that. And part of it is to really now run it as a holding company, because I own all 75 and not as separate companies, but with functional roles. So I built a technology team. I built a big design office in New York. I now have human resources and talent acquisition and legal across the companies. And now I'm really trying to leverage it by being able to have both people who can lead large groups of people, as well as being inspired by young brilliance, which is what I really need. And when you have it as separate companies, you need people with a lot of experience that are not necessarily your visionaries. So I realized for me to be inspired, for me to have the wings of flight, that I need to have some young brilliance and excitement around me. And so I'm in the process of changing my organization, because the truth is, the frailty to my world is that it is way too much of me. And I own all these companies, and I am actually the CEO of my automotive platform, which is a $2 billion revenue platform in 15 countries with 40 facilities. I run my defense company, and I run my beauty house. So I'm not doing things nearly as well as I need to really make the magic flow.
Thank you. That was great. One question for you. You've taken on a lot of companies. Do they all possess one core value or attribute that attracted you to them?
I'd like to tell you that I was that good or that smart. The only attribute that they shared was that no one else wanted them. And in my delusion, I saw myself as the Statue of Liberty. Bring me your broken, your huddled, and your masses. And truthfully, it was really almost an obsession of mission. There was this great high of standing in front of people and saying, you know, not today. I mean, you saw me at my paper mill in New Hampshire. It was, you know, it was as moving as it can be when you have 500 families standing there who had no work, their town was shut down, and you come rolling in and you say, not today. You know, not today do you tell your loved ones that you have no work, that you have no dignity. And that wheel, I just kept riding and riding until it sort of became too big for me. But the one thing that I know, though, is that everything can be rebuilt, and it does start with product. And a lot of my companies are 100 or 200 years old, and they have great brand names like Rand McNally, you know, or the house that Howard Hughes built, McDonnell Douglas helicopter. All those things, Oasis water, if you innovate, if you create a product, people will move to that product. And having a brand name, it used to be a great thing, but it's still a very good thing because it resonates to people. There's a comfort to it. But you have to create new product. And that's why I started with all things start with product. And it's design and disruption and design and disruption. Envelop in elegance and give them that excitement of science and technology.